My first question is, we know his family was at yesterday's hearing in federal court. Can you tell us how is his family holding up?
So I'm not going to talk about his immediate family per their wishes and his wishes. Everyone who knows him and everyone who is related to him is extremely supportive. And they're all doing the best they can to hold up under these circumstances.
What was his state of mind, leading up to the day of the shooting?
I wasn't there, so I don't know. And the law is that they don't have to give me the discovery, which is the reports, the criminal evidence, until about 10 days after arraignment. So in federal court and in state court, he hasn't technically even been arraigned yet. We just dealt with bail. So on this notepad, I have as much discovery as they've given me. I have no reports of anything. What I know about the case comes from the great investigative engine which exists in America called the news media, who does an amazing job of clawing around, digging and finding and exposing everything. So I've just only got my facts so far from the news media. So I don't know what was going on the day of the shooting, and I obviously don't know if he's the shooter. And go ahead.
Well, you had mentioned in federal court yesterday too that he takes medication, and he's sober and he's been in AA and has a sponsor.
Right.
Was he taking his medication leading up to that day?
So like everybody in the world, our physical and our mental health are personal and private issues we try to guard closely, but when you're charged in federal court and you want to get released on bail, they do inquire about your mental health and your physical health. So they know about, he's been interviewed by pretrial services. So you have the government on one side seeking detention, Mark Reichel on the other side seeking release, and a judge in the middle who knows nothing about the case. They have the pretrial services agency who you saw in court, who interviews the person, who asks all sorts of very good questions and makes a recommendation to the judge. So your mental health and your physical health are issues that are discussed. So to begin with, let's talk about AA. There's no one who knows him. There'll never be anyone who can come up with any discussion about him having a real drinking problem. But in 2020, during the pandemic, he started drinking, according to his limits, too much. So in 2022, part of self-care and being responsible for his life, in 2022, he started attending AA. And alcoholism, or being an alcoholic, is a clinical diagnosis done by clinicians. So my client could think he's an alcoholic because he has a beer every day. Who knows? But he just decided to start going to AA. So he did. He started going to AA, and he's very successful in it. He's very well liked in it. He's very popular in it. And I think he goes 5 days a week, or maybe even more. And so he's been in AA, and we wanted to reveal that. And there are a lot of people that are in AA. I think George Bush Jr. was in AA and still is. I believe so. I think he was had a drinking problem, and early on decided to walk away from it. I know RFK Jr. is in AA and is in that. So, which leads to what was kind of interesting was, as I mentioned, you could Google something, which is do the next, what was it, do the next scary thing. Well, you can Google it. It's a popular self-help mantra, a self-help mantra, which means self-help, and it's the opposite of harming. And so it is a mantra to get you to come out of your comfort zone, to face your fears. It's been on his refrigerator for a long time, and it's there pursuant. It's actually one of the mantras he learned in AA that he shares with others, and we could all share it with each other, is do the next unsafe thing, which is, get out of your comfort zone, face your fears. And so, that was there, and,
Why would that be on Friday the 19th?
It's on his refrigerator on Thursday the 18th, Wednesday the 17th. It's been on his refrigerator forever.
Is it the court documents made it sound like it was on the square that was Friday the 19th?
And then it will be there the next day, and it was there the day before.
He was moving it every day?
He would. Look, if that's what they're saying, that it's been on his refrigerator for over a year. So I don't know what they're saying. Are they saying it was a whiteboard that had days set? And if they are, I understand it must have been on the day before, because it was certainly there a year before. And so it's a mantra that he uses occasionally daily. And so, like I said, they have his phone, but there are photos on his phone of that being there, summer of 24. So, fair to say, that defeats that argument.
Was it a magnet? Was it something that he wrote with a...
I've just read what the government has alleged, and I don't even have a copy of that. I could type it right now and use the words no, I mean, they've typed something and put it there. I've seen no evidence of that, except I know from my own investigation where it comes from, talking to AA, talking to him, his family, and finding out how long that's been there. So, you know, that's all I can say. I mean, to me, it would have been there Saturday as well, and probably was there Thursday. So.
And do you know whether he was taking his medication at the time?
So I believe he was. Yeah, I do think he was. It's minor. So yeah, mental health. So again, he like I say, we acknowledge that he sees a therapist, a personal therapist. That's not unusual in America. In fact, America would be a much better place if more people had regular therapy. I don't think there's any dispute about that. It's too bad the government doesn't fund free therapy for everybody every day, but nevertheless. So that's one part of self-care. Secondly, he has, since I think 2010, he has been under the care of a medical, of a doctor for minor mental health treatment through medication, which is also completely common in America, and should not be a stigma that someone has minor. It's nothing significant. And
Can you share his diagnosis?
No, but I can guarantee you everybody can, it's the real common one that you hear, common ones that you hear that are of the lowest level, I think, for mental health treatment with medication. Yeah.
So not schizophrenia?
Correct.
Okay.
Absolutely not schizophrenia.
Okay.
It's in the area of anxiety and depression.
Sure.
And sleeplessness.
Got it. Thank you. Is there any indication that the then indefinite pause on Jimmy Kimmel's show was bothering him?
I don't know, because again, I have no evidence from them, from the prosecution in any way. So I just don't know. I know that's what everyone seems to keep painting it toward, but I don't know. And couldn't even, if I did know that, I couldn't comment on it. But I absolutely have never heard from anyone any proof that that's related.
Excuse me. Can you speak to any sense of his feelings last week? I know, that a lot of stuff's going to be discovery that you will find out, but, what was maybe weighing on him? What was, was it an out of the ordinary week for him that week?
I can understand why that's probably one of the most important questions, and I can't answer it because I don't know the answer. If I did, I would be able to answer, but I don't know the answer.
Did that school information surprise you when that came out, yesterday, day before?
Like everyone, when you put string facts together, you can make it appear one way, but when you take those facts apart and put them with other facts, it becomes nothing. So this comes from the government. The federal prosecutors, pleadings in federal court, said that he used to volunteer there. He taught Spanish classes after school successfully for a couple of years. And to do that, you have to be fingerprinted, background check, approved. He's very familiar with that school, and that was now about 4 years ago. So, I think about 4 years ago is my belief. Like so many of us know that things change, and it's not the same familiar place. So he's now retired, and there's no dispute he showed up there asking about reading to the children. He had an Army hat on because he was in the Army for 7 years and left as a captain. And so he asked about reading to the children. He didn't recognize anyone. I mean, he looked around to see if he saw a familiar face, and you've got either temporary employees or new employees. So, things change. Nothing stays the same, and he didn't see familiar faces, and so he gave his name and his phone number there to be given to the principal. That's not casing a place. I mean, that's giving your name and phone number. He then took the book and said, yeah, I have to go home and, get pre-approved and get reapproved, and left. And you notice that was at a school. So no alarm bells went off. No one called the police. There was no internal meetings about it, no notices, no be on the lookout for, none of that. Until 3 days later, when they saw on the television, this shooting that identified this as the person. So that does what none of us would disagree with. It causes what's called confirmation bias. The human mind takes, oh wow, he was just here, he was doing these things, look, this violence that they say he did, and it changes your recollection. It changes your recall. Even your physical ability to recall in your brain is now changed to what happened that day. And it's filled with all of these biases. And so I can guarantee you, if you interviewed those people that day, hey, the man who was just here asking to read, who was that? Oh, he used to work here. He used to read here. What else? There would have been no alarm bells that go off. But when you see 3 days later this shooting in the neighborhood, you think, wow, that's what was going on here. So that's what we've taken apart. And I just think, I mean, that's the bottom line. He left his name and phone number, and he asked to read. And so anyway.
They asked him to leave, I understand. He was maybe being a little...
Not necessarily. That seems to be a turn of phrase from the federal prosecutor. Said he left as directed. So their phrase was, he left as directed. I've seen no interviews with those people. I've not interviewed those people. So if he was told, they said, well, and yeah, we'll give this to the principal, but you can't obviously do it today. He goes, oh yeah, I know. And he leaves. Is that leaving as directed? They make it sound like he was escorted off, but bring it on. Bring it on. Bring the person in. Bring any evidence he was escorted off. And that's, it's not about the adversarial system in court is not about a search for the truth anymore. It's winning at all costs. So you type this document that says, was finally left as directed, right? Well, that makes us think, oh, escorted off. So if instead they would have said, he left as he said he was going to, we go, oh, he walked away peacefully.
At the end of the interaction.
Yes. So, okay.
I think the question was, one of my colleagues brought up, if he's volunteered at that school before, certainly he would know the procedures and the protocol and
right.
the documents that he asked to read to kids that day, and surely he would know.
Right.
That's not, he couldn't be let in that day.
Right. And there's no evidence whatsoever he asked to do it that day, other than now there's someone there saying, I think he wanted to do it today. He didn't bring anything to read with him. He didn't show him anything to read. So if he was planning to do it that day, what would he read to them? The books they provided? They haven't said that he had any books with him. They said he wanted to read. Now they're saying he wanted to read that day. He does know the process, which is why he came there. Because what's he going to do, bring his own application in? He has to fill out what they give him. So he came in and said, I'm interested in reading to the kids. I used to do this here. Can you give the principal my name and phone number? He thought maybe it was the same principal. He then took he didn't show up with any books. He didn't show up with his own, filled out form. You have to get the form from him. So that's just based on what the prosecution has shown us. I haven't gone out and investigated it. So.
And he took the form home with him?
Yes.
Okay. I'm just checking on time, making sure.
Take it down.
Okay. He told CBS in the interview, CBS asked about ABC10 and the employees there, and he said, that is something I've been thinking about just today. I'm not exactly quoting him, but the idea was, I've been thinking about that, and I'll stop there. Did anything stand out to you about that? Was he saying more than you would have liked him to say as an attorney, as his attorney?
I don't want my clients to speak to the media prior to trial while they're in custody ever. So everything he said was more than I wanted him to say. And I think what he was saying, I'm guessing, we're speculating again about his mindset, but I think he was saying, I feel bad for everybody who is involved in this, regardless of who did it. I think what he's saying is, I can understand how those who work there would feel. Of course you can. He's an intelligent person. So I'm thinking that's what he was saying. Is it doesn't mean he's saying I shot the place. He's saying, I can imagine how bad those people feel, and the people of Sacramento feel. So.
Why would he say, I'll stop there, that's all I should say, or again, just paraphrasing.
Yeah, he did say, I'll stop there. I think it's because he is an attorney. He's worried about, saying something slightly wrong being misinterpreted. So that's all.
Sure. Are you denying that your client was the person who did it, or are you simply denying the charges at this point?
Yeah, I can't comment on the evidence. It wouldn't be fair. We try to do that in the courtroom. I can talk about him. I can talk about things that they're alleging that to detain him with, but I don't have any of the evidence. I couldn't comment on it if I did, and I would never talk about commenting on my opinion of it or any attorney-client communications. But I'll tell you this: everybody in America is innocent. He's 100% innocent until 12 people inside of that courtroom, after hearing all the evidence at a fair trial, say beyond a reasonable doubt that he's guilty. The rule of law should be paramount in America, especially nowadays. We've got the Trump administration who has wholesalely lit fire to with gasoline the rule of law. So I would hope, and I argue strenuously in this case that we applied the rule of law, that we give the person a fair trial, the presumption of innocence, access to his attorney, the ability to defend himself, and then if found guilty, a fair consideration of everything, not just because he's considered to be progressive or liberal. So.
Does it make it difficult to have a federal and a state proceeding going on at the same time? And will both be jury trials, or is there a bench trial involved in either?
So both are going to be jury trials, and it is incredibly difficult. I'm well up to the task. Bring me giants to slay. However, I'd like a smaller giant, and I'd like them to be less armed. So I think at some point, honestly, they'll make a selection or an election between just one form to go forward with. And I'm going to argue that's what the law requires.
How so?
Well, they both have statutes. California has a statute that says if you've really been punished in federal court, we don't bring you over here and take you to state court for resources reasons, okay? That sounds like it's been satisfied over here in federal court. And the federal system has the same kind of rule for federal resources. Look, it's called the petite policy based on a case. And it says if you've been convicted in state court, we don't bring you to federal court and then do it again. Now, those are just, the state system is a statute. The federal system is just a policy. And it's just a policy they asked you to abide by. But it's not a hard and fast law. And the Supreme Court years ago in a case called United States versus Wheat said, what we're all familiar with is the double jeopardy clause. No one shall be held in double jeopardy. Isn't that double jeopardy? The Supreme Court said these are separate sovereigns. So the state is a sovereign and the federal government is a sovereign. The federal government can't charge you twice and the state government can't charge you twice, but each can charge you once simultaneously. So I'm going to make a motion under a variety of grounds to make an election and say just one go forward. And I think that'll probably be granted at some point, but it's too early on.
Sure. What are the next steps in this for both?
So the next steps are the state, he is still held, so he's held in federal custody. So he was released on bail and he was in state jurisdiction. But he hadn't gone to state court yet. We were set to go, I think, on Tuesday. And the feds grabbed him on Saturday night and brought him into federal custody. He hasn't been released from federal custody. We lost the bail motion. So he's still in federal custody. And the way the state looks at it, well, we can't really bring him over here to start over here. So they have nicely enough said, we're just going to pause the state case and let it follow. If he gets released federally, then the state wants to be heard about going forward. But if he stays in federally, the state has continued to just let that one follow behind.
Okay, so it's not like dueling appearances like we've seen this week.
If I got him released, yeah, exactly. I don't think it's going to be dueling appearances. I think it is not going to be dueling appearances. And there would never really be dueling trials. But there are dueling prosecutions underway right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Has it officially been decided that state will pause and allow federal to go forward?
Yes, it has been for now. By virtue of losing the bail hearing on Thursday, federally, I went to state court and the judge and the prosecutor said, let's just delay, let's pause this and see what happens over there. So that's where we're at.
Okay. Pending what?
A release, actually. If you win the next bail hearing, then the state says, okay, well, then he's coming back here.
Okay,
and then we'll fight over there.
I got it, sure.
And if he gets released there, then we do have the case of dueling. If he gets released federally, and they say, okay, then you're coming to state court, and I win a bail hearing over there again, he will be released. We will then have both jurisdictions with active prosecutions underway, with deadlines and dates and court hearings, and we will have dual prosecution, which we rarely ever have. Yeah?
Is there another bail hearing on the federal level?
I haven't set it yet, but I'm hoping to set it again sometime around October 6th or so.
Is that a matter of like an appeal?
No, it's to rehear it. It's to reopen it.
Okay.
Not an appeal.
Okay, I see. Okay. Last question here, and I appreciate your time.
Of course.
What do you or he have to say to ABC10 employees who were traumatized by having their building shot up?
Well, I can't comment on who the person is that committed this to ABC10, but obviously, and I know my client as well are the strong believers in the First Amendment and the fact that a free and unfettered press is the bedrock foundation of all that keeps America healthy and civilized.
All right. Anything you want to say to the people who are experiencing emotional trauma on a human level?
Oh, to people supposing, well, I mean, obviously, I wish that this would never have happened and they never had to go through something like this.